Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a wonderful episode of the Duck Zone. We are in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Surprising that we've gotten here. We're in the final eight. Can't believe it, but here we are in this time of the year. But before we get into the divisional round, James, I want to jump over to you and ask: was there anything surprising that you took away from Super Wild Card Weekend?
Yeah. Two things stick out to me right off the bat. One, the Chargers' performance. Um, we saw Justin Herbert throw 4 interceptions. I think he had like 3 interceptions all year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's more surprising, the Chargers' lack of offense or the Texans' defense. I did not see. I guess and the Texans' offense too. I did not see the Texans dominating the Chargers like that. The other one would probably be the Vikings. I know you had an interesting stat that you've thrown around on a couple shows about teams that play the Lions and what they do the week after. So we saw the Vikings just absolutely shit the bed in the red zone against the Lions, and then basically did the same thing against the Rams. I mean, they Darnold looked terrible, especially coming off a really good year. So it's really too bad that Darnold, his last 2 games ended like that, because that's going to be what people remember, and it might affect his contract going into the off season. So those are the two big ones to me, I guess.
Yeah,
So
actually, I agree with both of them. I was really surprised with how Houston played. Their defense looked really, really good. And then exactly what you said, the Rams defense actually looked really, really good, and it's going to be interesting to see how the NFL, the rest of the league reacts to Sam Darnold now. For 17 weeks, he looked really good. In the last 2 weeks, he looked like the Sam Darnold that we'd seen the first 5 years of his career. It's going to be interesting to see if someone's willing to throw money at him or what the Vikings might do now. Is it McCarthy time? What are they going to do? But I agree with both of those. Everything else seemed pretty much on brand of what we thought was going to happen in Super Wild Card Weekend. Um, yeah. That said, we do have some coaching news as well, which a lot of you guys have already probably heard. Mike Vrabel is now the coach in New England. Not a big surprise there. I think a lot of people expected that to happen. But the other surprising news that came out of last weekend, Dallas and Mike McCarthy have parted ways. So that Dallas job is now open. James, what is your reaction to either of those? Who do you think might take the Dallas job?
yeah, the Vrabel one, I know that had been speculated for some time, and then obviously that happened pretty quickly. I feel kind of bad for Gerard Mayo. I mean, he wasn't really given an opportunity to win, and he almost hurt himself by winning that last game of the year and then getting fired that night. Uh, so yeah, I mean, you never want to be the guy to succeed the guy, and when I say that, I mean you never want to be the Gerard Mayo who has to take over the job after Belichick. You always want to be the guy that succeeds the guy that succeeded the guy. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. So we'll see what Vrabel brings to the table. Um, to me, I wouldn't say he's like a stud of a coach, but I mean, you have to start somewhere. I know he was in Tennessee and he was okay, but I guess we'll see. He seems like he definitely fits the New England mold, hence him playing there and everything. So excited for him there. That'll be fun. The Dallas news is interesting. The big takeaway for me is, why did Dallas not allow McCarthy to go interview for the Bears to then days later let him go? That to me is so bizarre. Yeah, Jerry Jones, uh, something's wrong with that guy. He needs to go. Like, Dallas is, I don't know. To me, that's such a petty little thing. Like, no, you can't have our coach. And then a couple days later, all right, see you later, Mark McCarthy.
Yeah, I think McCarthy's going to get the Chicago job. That's my gut feeling. And I think that's a pretty good fit for all parties around on that one. I'm rooting for Dion to get the Dallas job. I think it would be very entertaining. And, I think it's one of the only people in football that probably would shut Jerry Jones up. Because Dion is just a bigger presence. And the media, it's one of the few people that the media will flock more to than Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones does his pressers and everything after games. Dion's the only one of the few guys on a list that would be able to outshadow that and be like, okay, it doesn't matter what Jerry Jones said. What Dion's got to say means a lot more, and a lot of it's got to do with his accolades, but a lot of it's got to do with his personality. He's just a, he's got that charisma that people just flock to, and I think it'd be
Yeah, I
very,
mean he is Coach Prime for a reason.
yeah, it would be interesting to see. The big question with that though is the his son will be in the league next year, and I've kind of done some research on could Dallas figure out a way to trade Dak and get that first or second or third pick or whatever. It's unlikely because of the amount of dead cap that would create, which then also brings up the fact, you know, Sanders may land up in Vegas, and Dion's got a good relationship with that ownership too. So Dion's got a couple paths that could be into the NFL if he were to want to take it. It'll be interesting to see for sure, though.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what actually happens. I mean, to jump ship from Colorado that quickly, he'd probably piss off a ton of people. Granted, it'd just be one fan base, it'd be the Colorado fan base, but I don't know. I mean, if you have an opportunity to get an NFL job and get that pay raise, and then not that he probably needs the money,
Yeah,
but you're taking that pay raise, and then you can coach your son, who's your quarterback. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. I see him going to the Raiders more than the Cowboys. I do like all the points he said about the bright lights of the Cowboys. America's team. He's someone that can go in there and he's not afraid of the spotlight. I mean, he even played for the Cowboys in his tenure. So yeah, it'll be interesting. There's a lot of other jobs open too. Not saying that Dion is going to go to
yeah,
you know the Titans or the Bears or whatever. All the other jobs that are open. But
yeah.
yeah, exciting times for coaching searches right now. It seems like we have a lot open compared to how it normally is.
Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like it's going pretty slow, but a lot of the can't. I think it's gonna. I think we're gonna get a lot of guys filling in positions after this weekend because a lot of the guys that have been interviewing are still in the playoffs. So I think this upcoming week,
Yep.
once the team gets eliminated, I think we're gonna see a lot of movement. That said, let's jump into these four games. Let's make our picks. It's a tough weekend, and it's going to be a lot of exciting games. The first game on Saturday on ESPN. Houston heading to Kansas City. These two teams played that week before Christmas, where Tank Dell had the horrible injury, and it felt like everything was doom and gloom for Houston at that point. But who do you got in this rematch from just a few weeks back?
Man, I really want to pick the Texans, and the reason why I want to pick them is because I saw a fun stat. It was something like the Chiefs haven't won a game, or have maybe they're like 1-8, or I'm throwing out numbers. Who knows what it was? They weren't good in the 4:30 Eastern time slot. So it was something like when the Chiefs play in a playoff game at 4 o'clock, in between 4 o'clock and 4:30, and their game's at 4:30, they like don't win or something weird like that. So I'm not gonna pick the Texans. I think the Chiefs win this game, but if the Texans win, there is some kind of weird little voodoo stuff going on with that time slot. So keep an eye on that. I'm still taking the Chiefs. I think the rest in the NFL means way more than it does in college. Guys like Travis Kelsey's getting up there in age. He needs time to rest. Mahomes, or Gumby as we've called him, with all the weird injuries he seems to sustain and then bounce back, and then he's going into halftime limping on one leg, and then all of a sudden he's taking snaps under center in the third quarter. It's hard for me to, again, not. I mean, I've said it all year. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I did that one week and it bit me in the ass. So I'm taking the Chiefs. I just think overall they're the better team. they just find ways to win. That's really all I can say. People can trash them all they want about being a really bad 15-2 team, but they're undefeated at home and they find ways to win. So I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I kind of feel similar to you on this one. I really want to take Houston. I think Houston looked really good against LA last week. The defense looked great. That was the defense we kind of expected to see all year, just imposing their will. Kansas City is just so good, and they really needed the bye week. They really needed to get healthy, and they've just kind of coasted through the season, winning very close games. I feel like I said this very early in the season, probably like week 5. I said it feels like they're running like the C playbook, like they're doing nothing fancy. Well, here comes the A playbook. So it's very hard to bet against Kansas City. I think we're going to see a very, very healthy, ready to go team. Kansas City, the stadium's going to be rocking. I don't know. I want to take Houston. I even want to take the 8 points. I don't know if I can do either. I'm going to take Kansas City. Um, Moving to the night game, Washington, who beat Tampa Bay last week, taking on Detroit in Detroit.
My first question is: are we really going to be seeing David Montgomery? I know there's reports out there that he might be playing, which would be
Wild.
that'd be nuts. I'm taking the Lions in this game. I think we've never seen a rookie quarterback uh, move on to the conference championship game. I really like Jaden Daniels. He looks like a superstar, and he's going to have a long, long career in this league. Unfortunately, he has to go up against arguably the best team in the NFL. Um, Jared Goff's going to be fired up for this game. Jameer Gibbs is going to be fired up for this game. St. Brown, Laporta. I mean, the names go on. Jamison Williams. I mean, they have so many superstars, and that's just on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
The Lions are really good defensively too. So, Detroit is so desperate for a championship, and their fans are going to be so loud. It's going to be a tough environment for the Commanders to go in and win. So I'm taking the Lions to win this game. I can't see them not winning.
Yeah, out of all the games this week, this is the one I actually feel the most confident with. I think the Lions win. I think it's going to be a good battle. It's the only game this week that's not a rematch from the rest of the season, so that's interesting. But I think Detroit wins this. It's a tough place to play. They're going to come in with fire. You know, I think they win by 10. But Washington puts up a good fight. Uh, yeah, I just take Detroit in this one. Not too much else to add outside of what you've already said. Um, Moving to Sunday morning, uh, LA Rams heading to Philadelphia. This was a rematch from early December where Saquon Barkley just ran all over that Rams defense. But that Rams defense has been very, very, very good since that game.
Yeah, I don't see how the Eagles lose this game. Last I checked, it's supposed to be super, super cold, and I think there's even potential for there to be snow starting when kickoff occurs. Eagles know how to play in that type of weather. Unfortunately, the Rams do not. They also have Matt Stafford at quarterback, who has literally played in a dome his entire career. So that's where the home field advantage, I think, comes into play. I mean, you hate to see a team like the Rams, who arguably can beat anyone in this league, when they're clicking. And we saw them click against the Vikings. But that's the NFL playoffs. Should have played better, should have had a better record. And then you get to, host the Eagles. But Eagles are hosting this game. It's going to be sloppy if it really is snowing and, sub-freezing temperatures. So I think, Saquon will be up to the test. He's been running in New York and, Penn State prior to that, so he's used to cold weather. So, and then you got Jalen Hurts, who can run the ball as well. I guess you don't need to throw to A.J. Brown when he's getting one catch and reading books on the sidelines. So I think this will be a ground and pound type of game, and the Eagles come out victorious.
Yeah, a lot of what you said, I was actually going to say as well. but in this case, there's not much to add. With the potential of snow, it's gonna be cold. Philly's been really, really good on the ground. They don't have much of an air attack, which is a little worrisome. Say the weather does change a little bit. And I would think if that is the case, it leans more to the LA Rams. They're kind of playing with house money a little bit. That defense has been so good. But I do agree. I think Saquon's going to be able to run on the Rams like he did, earlier in the season. I'm going to take Philadelphia, but it is kind of a 50-50 one for me. I'm a little bit concerned just from the aspect of if Philly has to go to the air, it hasn't looked very good the last few weeks, even with A.J. Brown um, and, oh my God, Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and all the different weapons that they have. Jalen Hurts has really struggled through the air this season. Um, and Saquon Barkley has really put that whole team on his shoulders in a way. They're really run first, but with the weather it is, I'll take Philly. I don't think the Rams will be able to explore that passing attack like they usually are able to. They really exposed Minnesota, but if Philly has to go to some sort of passing attack, that Rams defense is lethal. Picked up like 10 sacks or something stupid last week. It was crazy. Um, Hardest game of the week, and I'm literally at a toss up on this one. And I think this is totally unfair because one of these two teams is going to come out of this between Baltimore and Buffalo having either the storyline be Lamar can't win or Sean McDermott can't win, which I don't think is fair given the fact that I think these two teams are basically even.
Throw Josh Allen in there too. I mean, I know Sean McDermott takes a lot of the blame, and I'm not trying to put blame on Josh Allen, but he's kind of in that. He and Lamar are kind of similar when it comes to MVP caliber quarterbacks, but just can't get it done in the playoffs. Yeah, this one was really, really hard for me to pick. I ended up going with the Ravens just because I think their defense, like I mentioned last week, has really ramped up. And the two-headed monster of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry is absolutely unreal. I mean, you have to play like Derrick Henry's getting the ball in RPOs, and then all of a sudden Lamar's jetting off, and guys are coming down on Derrick Henry because you need like four guys to take the behemoth down, and then Lamar's going off and just getting a solid 15, 20-yard run, even longer. So I don't know. It just seems like it's really set up right now for the Ravens to win this game. They have more playmakers, and if the Ravens can go on and win a Super Bowl, that might ultimately cement Lamar Jackson as like one of the greatest of all time because he is ridiculous every single year. The fact that he's up for MVP year over year over year. He came in as a runner. He's showing that he can actually throw the ball. I mean, he had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions this year. The guy's a freak. And not to take anything away from Josh Allen because he also is a freak, and it's literally down to Lamar and Allen for the MVP race. And not that this game means anything towards that because votes have already been casted, and we'll find out in a later date who wins it. But like you said, it's kind of unfortunate that this game is happening in the divisional round and not the conference championship. But with all that being said, I'm taking the Ravens on the road.
Yeah, I got a lot of the same reasons you got. I mean, I flipped a coin basically on this one, but in the end, in my mind, I went with Baltimore purely for the fact of two reasons. One, they dismantled Pittsburgh last week, and I get Pittsburgh, was on a 4-game losing streak, but they literally did whatever they wanted. And then the fact that these two teams did play each other earlier in the year, and Baltimore threw up 35 against Buffalo, and I get teams are way different than they were week 4, but beating them 35 to 10. On the flip end, Buffalo hasn't lost at home this season. That's tough. I mean, I know Buffalo's a tough place to play. It's going to be cold. Baltimore should be used to that. I'm going to take the Ravens. I feel more comfortable saying pound the over on this one. 51, I think there's going to be a ton of points. I think this is going to be back and forth, great explosive plays. But I'm going to take the playmakers of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to end up get the victory in this one. Before we sign off, James, anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so. After this, we just have one more show, which will preview the Super Bowl. And then we're
Conference.
going to kind of take a little hiatus. So I'll
Yeah.
be going to France for a couple weeks, but then, yeah, we'll be coming back for March. It'll be crazy. We'll be closing in on March Madness, but no, nothing really to add. It's weird that the football season's already come and gone, at least close to come and gone, but
Yeah. It's always weird when we get to this time of the year.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that said, we will be jumping off, and guys, enjoy watching this wonderful football weekend and the national championship as well on Monday. If you haven't checked out that show already, it's already up. Go take a look on who we picked in that game. Yeah. Until next week, guys. Have a safe week, and we'll see you later.